Hi, I just wanted to give a quick update, let you know that week 2 is graded, and I want to talk to you about the forum annotations. I want to look ahead with you and talk about thesis statements. So week 2 is graded. Be sure to check the gradebook. Let me know if you see any discrepancies, and I will be sure to work on that. I want to say good work on the forum. Many of you are doing an excellent job with the detail. It's very smart to make a claim and support it with specific evidence from the essay we read. Make sure you always do that in academic settings. If you're going to say something, if you're going to make a claim, make sure that you back up that claim with specific evidence. Just a reminder, when you post by Wednesday midnight, I can interact with you by asking a question, and then when you answer that question, it's worth 5 of the 20 points. So make sure that you get a post in by Wednesday midnight. Let's talk about annotations. It's a strong part of critical thinking and critical writing, and it's a strong part of what we do. I only assign annotations out of 2 weeks, but please be doing your own annotations with everything that you read, and I even encourage you to do it in the rest of your courses in college. When you annotate, let's look at what you need to look for. Ethos. What is the credibility of the person who's writing the paper, and what is the credibility of what they're citing? Along with ethos, we have logos. What's the logic? Is there reasoning backing up their claims? Are there statistics that can back up their claims? Are their statistics credible? Are there, let's see, is there testimony to back up the claim? So look for those pieces of evidence. And then also we have pathos that we also need to be looking for. Here it is. Pathos, be looking for emotion and also the credibility of the author. How well does, or how credible is the author's use of emotion? Make sure whenever you state a claim that you always provide the evidence for that claim. Look for evidence in the text. When you're annotating, make sure that you're asking lots of questions. Make sure that you're addressing those questions, the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, why, how. Be looking at the author. How strong is the author? Does the author look at opposition? And if the author looks at opposition, it's going to have, he's going or she is going to have a stronger argument. If they don't look at the opposition, why are they leaving it out? And does that make them weaker? Stomp around in the text. Look what you can see. Make your own arguments. Take your own sides. That's how annotation works, and makes you a more credible reader, or a better critical thinking reader. Let's look at thesis statements. You'll either be reading about thesis statements this week or next week. I want you to be prepared for them, especially when you go into writing your profile and your analysis essays. Be sure to look at a writer's reference, pages 11 through 19. It shows you how to construct a well-worded thesis statement. Here's an overview, but please do read it. A thesis statement should enter a debate. It shouldn't be wishy-washy. You should have a strong debate with your thesis statement. You should always take a position. Consider subtopics. You don't want an essay, why did we enter World War II? That's very broad. You want to look more at why did we choose to invade Normandy? Something like that. Identify challenging questions. Your thesis statement shouldn't be a question, but it can certainly start with a question like a hypothesis. And then make sure you use strong, concrete language. A reader should be able to look at your thesis statement and know exactly what your paper is going to say just by that one statement. So let's look at some examples. Good food is good for your health. Not a good thesis statement because it does not enter a debate, it does not take a position, and it's very, very broad. Eating Cheerios every day can lower your cholesterol. Again, there's not a debate, there's not a position. It's just not strong. I mean, who wants to read a paper about that? A poor diet can lead to heart disease and cancer. Well, okay, we know that. That's too factual. Should e-cig smoking be banned from public venues? That's a question. It's not a position. It's not a statement. So let's look at some even better thesis statements, a good thesis statement will have a qualifier. Often it'll have something like almost, some, often, perhaps, probably. And you'll see how those come into play down here. And then a good thesis statement should offer some background facts or a quick snapshot of a fact with a dependent clause. And those are clauses that start with since, because, while, although. So here's some examples with the dependent clause starting with when. When choices should be made, Americans should argue for preserving freedom of expression. So when choices should be made creates a qualifier, and then Americans should, that's a very strong debate, that's a very strong position. Argue for preserving freedom of expression, that's very specific wording. Next one, since free speech can be offensive, it should be limited in public places. Not necessarily saying that I agree with that, but it is a thesis statement. We've got a qualifier here, since free speech can be offensive, then we have a strong argumentative statement here, should be limited, very specific wording here. The last one, while some people may argue that free speech is offensive, it is a constitutional right that must be protected. Okay, again, we have a qualifier, then we have specific language, we have very strong argument here. So let's back up again and look at thesis statements should enter a debate, take a position, consider subtopics, identify challenging questions, and use concrete language. So this sums up our video. I mentioned that week 2 work is graded. Kudos on the excellent detail in the forum. We talked about annotations, why those are important. You did a good job with those. We looked ahead a little bit of what's due, and specifically we talked about thesis statements for your upcoming papers. I look forward to seeing you in the forum this week. As always, if you have questions, give me a call or email me.